welcome back to Whit Tips. Today we're going to be looking how we use questions as a strategy to deconstruct an image when completing a creative writing task. So on your screens now is a fairly typical English language Paper 1 Section B Question 5 style task that you might get in lesson or in your GCSEs. You've got a choice of tasks: write a description, write a story. We're going to focus on the description today, and if you have a look at this one, it's quite a vague, if you will, description. It is write a description as suggested by this picture. Then you've got quite an exciting picture. Now, when you get a brief that's as vague as this or as bland as this, that's lacking information, a little tip for you that you might want to consider is to have a look at the narrative brief, because it gives you a little bit more of a focus. So you might be a student that thinks that they're better at descriptions. Your teachers advise you to do description. You've been working on your descriptions in lessons. You go into your exam, you're 100% going to do the description. And then you turn over and you find this on your exam page and you think, not quite sure about this, as it seems to be lacking some sort of detail to what I've been practicing in class. If you have a look at the story one, write a story about an unexpected outcome, it gives you a little bit more of a focus. Now you've got this word unexpected, so it might help you generate some ideas for your description as well. So do make sure that you read all the questions in all your exams fully, but especially in this writing section, because it might be that one word could trigger a new thought for you that will improve your writing, and that's very important. So I've made the picture a little bit bigger for us here to see, so pause it, have a look. What are your eyes drawn to? My first step would be to generate some ideas. When I look at this picture, what do I think of? So as you can see, I've jotted down a quick mind map here. I've got on down there things like war. The first thing that comes into my head, this looks like some kind of war scene, maybe some kind of apocalyptic scene, end of the world, that might link to natural disaster. I've also got a firework display gone wrong. Looking at the characters in there, they look like they're running away from something. And the one in green is an explosion in a factory, is the one that I'm going to go with. The reason why I've gone with this one, and there's nothing wrong with my other ideas, is that sometimes I think the most obvious or the first things that you think of, so will so many other students that are sitting this exam or this assessment. And don't forget, the more original and more creative your idea and thus your writing, the more it will stand out to an examiner or a teacher when they're marking it. So don't always go for the first and most obvious idea. Try and work at it for a little bit and try and land on an idea that might be slightly out of the box, because that might help you with your description and your writing. Okay, so you've got your idea. What comes next is the strategy, I suppose, which are 6 questions I use when I've got an image, whether that be for descriptive or a narrative task. And these 6 questions were questions that were given to me by a very successful and very experienced writer when I started teaching. And these 6 questions are on your screen now. I've used for many years in teaching, and some students have produced some fantastic results by using these to generate ideas. And that's all it is. They're there to help you to plan, to make sure that when you do actually start writing in your assessments and your exams, you've got a clear idea of your purpose and what you're trying to achieve, and a little bit of understanding of what you're trying to describe or recount the story for. So if you have a look here, the 6 questions: where am I? How have I got here? What's just happened? What's about to happen? Where are my friends and family? And what are my dreams and hopes for the future? Now, there's absolutely nothing wrong with you generating your own questions if these don't work for you, but these questions are quite good because they build up quite nicely and allow you to add that depth and the layer to your descriptions and to your scenes. Remember in previous videos about what is a description, we've talked about that it's capturing a scene, a moment in time. So these will help you to do it, because it gives you, even those 2 questions, what's just happened, what's about to happen, that might be all you want to take from this little tip of video, but they're very important because it helps you pin down this moment in time. You know where you're coming from, you know what's just happened in your head, and you know what's going to happen. Now you write that bit in the middle. Okay, so these questions, they're there for you to pick and choose and to help you. Okay, not everything, you can't use every single strategy. You have to find the ones that work for you with your writing, and hopefully there's something in this to help you add that layer and depth to your writing. So let's have a look then how we've used these. Very simply, I've just answered the questions. I've jotted the questions down, I've just answered them. So where am I? I'm in an abandoned factory. How have I got here? I've broken in. What's just happened? There's been an explosion. What's about to happen? Got to assess the situation. Where are my friends and family? Well, I've got my friends are with me, but not all of them. What are your dreams / hopes of the future? To rescue, find my friends. So I've created with these questions that scene, that moment in time, that previous piece of action, the next piece of action that's going to come, to help me gather my thoughts and build that description now. Okay, and that's all this is. This is about helping you envisage what it is that you're trying to write, and to add that little bit of depth to it. Okay, which is very, very important for the detail and for the content of our writing. Once you've done that, and once you've been practicing this, you might get to a point where you don't need to write your questions down. Hopefully that's the aim, and you can just jot down your answers. And as you can see, I've started to here just put my plan, if you will, into a little bit of sentence form. So I've changed it from just the simple answers to those questions to this little bit of a blurb, if you will. I've broken into an abandoned factory with friends. However, there was an explosion. 3 of us made it out. 1 friend is missing. We must find her. I quite like this because sometimes you land on a nice opening line or a nice line that you might want to use in your writing. Like here, we must find her could be a nice opening, or it could be a line that you want to put in there. So sometimes writing this out will help you, and you can take pieces of your plan and put it directly or craft it back into your writing later on. However, for those students again that are aiming for those higher marks, those higher boundaries, and are thinking about trying to condense that description down more after you've used your questions, what you can see, what we've done here is I've tried to describe aftermath, describe moment of impact. I've thought about this scene, but this scene, and that word condense is very important, would be too big to write. So I'm thinking I need to narrow this down a little bit more. So do I describe the actual moment of impact that we can see in the picture? I think it's very difficult to go before that at this moment in time because we can't see that. So I can either describe the moment of impact or I could describe the aftermath. I don't think in my time that I've got to write this I could do both well and get into the very top boundaries. Okay, so I need to condense it down, and I just start then after I've done that to jot down some words that go with each one as I try and again gather some thoughts. So I've just jotted down some nice vocabulary here: destruction, pain, discomfort, rubble, ringing in ears, feeling of loss. Some of the things I might and ideas and atmosphere and tones I might want to be creating if I was to describe the aftermath. If I was to describe the moment of impact, that would be slightly different. I might want to talk about excitement, about being and having broken into this abandoned factory, turning to terror or surprise or shock or whatever it might be. And this kind of flipping of switch, this kind of excitement, if you will, turns to something that's actually quite terrifying. I will be talking a lot about sensory description, perhaps, if I was talking about the moment of impact. Maybe light first, sound first, that's a judgment that I have to make. I might be talking about the heat of the explosion, and a feeling of weightlessness and then a falling through. So I try and create myself a little bit of a structure through that as well. Okay, so once you've used your questions, you've generated your idea, you've been able to situate your piece of action, your moment in time for your description, do keep thinking about narrowing it down. And perhaps the more you can condense and concentrate it down, the better your descriptions will be. Finally then, some tips. We've talked about these throughout this video and previous videos. When you're writing a description, what is a description? Make sure it's that concentrated moment in time, a very brief, short period that you're trying to describe. It's a feeling, it's a character, it's a setting, it's a scene, it's an emotion. It's not something any bigger than that. It's that kind of singular moment in time. the way that you will find out how much you can write about is the final bullet point here, and that's practicing. The more you write, the more you practice, the more you'll discover your writing limitations, and the more that you will improve your writing capacity about what you can and can't cover in the time that you've got. Do try and make sure you've got an overall mood in your description. It shouldn't just be something that's static, but there should be some kind of atmosphere, some kind of mood, something that you're trying to make your examiner slash reader slash teacher feel, and make sure that you're building towards that as well throughout your description. And somewhere, again, if you're aiming for those high grades, flip that switch. Try and layer your detail up, and that's what these questions will try and do. They'll let you add depth and add layers to your description, and then can you do that quick change, if you will, that little switch, that little twist within your description somewhere, that you will that hopefully get you some higher marks. And again, don't forget, if you are in the exam with your description, you've got an excellent piece of writing that will be full of descriptions that you will have used for your reading exam. So do look back at that as well, and make sure that you use that to help you with vocabulary and with structure as well. There'll be twists in that. It will have been selected for that purpose as well. So they're very important things. Some tips for you, and I talk about those in a little bit more detail in another video. So keep browsing through and having a look, and hopefully you'll find something that will help you with your writing and improve your grades. Thank you. Bye bye now.